Hi everyone, this video is to help you figure out the terms on your figurative language notes. This video is going to be brief and to the point. It might be beneficial to show up to the class meeting to get some more elaboration and discussion if you need to understand these terms more thoroughly. So the first conversation or the first terms are literal language and figurative language. So this first one should be literal language, L-A-N-G-U-A-G-E. And the one that goes here should be figurative. The difference between figurative and literal language. Literal, when you say what is written is actually what the writer means, whereas figurative, you might be using certain language to create an image, and it may not be intended to be taken literally. If I said, I literally ate 10 pieces of pizza, that means that 10 pieces of pizza were eaten. Sometimes people use exaggeration and say, oh my gosh, I ate 10 pieces of pizza. They don't really mean that. They're just exaggerating. So that's the difference between literal and figurative language. We're going to be mostly talking about figurative language here, and there are a lot of different categories. You're going to see several of them marked with a star. Those are the most important for you to know and understand thoroughly in 7th grade. The extra ones are going to be bonus words that we hope that you can pick a few to be familiar with and maybe recognize them, but the go-to words are the ones with stars. So this first one, the term is a simile, S-I-M-I-L-E. And that is when you compare two things that are unlike using the words like, as, or than. So for example, if I said her eyes were like diamonds, eyes and diamonds are very, very much not alike. They are very, very different things, but they have something in common that the author is trying to bring about. So it's probably that they are sparkling or that they are beautiful. If I said something like he was as fast as a panther, a person or a runner and a panther are two very, very different things, but what they do have in common is that they are very fast. So you're comparing two things that are very different, but they have something in common that the author is trying to emphasize. The next term is metaphor. And that is very similar to a simile, except a metaphor, instead of comparing the things using the words like, as, or than, it actually says the one thing is the other. And again, you're comparing two very unlike things. So if I were to transform the simile, her eyes were like diamonds, I could say her eyes are sparkling diamonds. Saying that her eyes are the diamonds is what makes it a metaphor. So if I said he is like a giant on the team, that's a simile. But if I say he is a giant on the team, that is a metaphor. In some ways, a metaphor can be a little bit more powerful, but you can't overuse it. It's kind of good to mix it up. The next one is called personification. And this is when you give human qualities to an object, animal, or an idea. Once somebody pointed this out to me, I didn't have a problem remembering it, but the word person in personification is giving human qualities. So that connection there is what helps me. An example would be the house groaned in the wind. Obviously, a house cannot groan because it is a building. It can't actually groan. But if you hear the phrase, the house groaned in the wind, you kind of get the impression that it might be squeaking or it might be, swaying here or there, making those scary house noises that might be happening when it is stormy outside. The next term is hyperbole, H-Y-P-E-R-B-O-L-E. Pronounced hyperbole. This is an extreme exaggeration for emphasis. And it can't just be a little exaggeration. So actually saying I ate 10 pieces of pizza isn't really considered a hyperbole because somebody actually could eat 10 pieces of pizza. If I said, oh my gosh, I just ate 100 pieces of pizza, that is not reasonable. That is an extreme exaggeration, which makes it hyperbole. Another example would be this bag weighs a ton. If you're talking about somebody's suitcase, I walked 1,000,000 miles. Those can't actually happen. I'm dying of thirst. You're not actually dying. And if you are talking about actually dying of thirst, you're stranded in the desert. In that case, that's literal language. You're no longer speaking in figurative language. This next one is onomatopoeia, and I'm going to be tested on how to spell it. Yay, spell check. Oh, darn it, I didn't get it. I was close. This is a really tough one. So this one is when you use words to imitate sounds. So the actual letters try to create the sound. So bang, the B-A-N-G, that those words combined kind of sound like what it means. Crack, snap. There's all kinds of onomatopoeia words. The next one is imagery. Very, very powerful language when what you do is you use the senses. You very intentionally appeal to the senses, sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, to appeal to the reader. And so you try to make sure that you use language that it connects with the sound, or it connects with touch, that sort of thing. Now, those are the go-to ones. Those are the ones in 7th grade that we really, really want you to know well. These next ones are we call bonus words. If you can learn about them, that is fantastic. But the first one is alliteration. This is the repetition of the beginning sounds for effect. Tends to be many tongue twisters use alliteration. There's a couple of examples. The swan swam silently in the stream, or whispering willow whooshed in the wind. You might have a few filler words that don't start with the same letter, but overall they start with the same letter. The next one is loaded words. This is when the word choice that you pick is intentionally phrased to sway the listener. I know what your opinion is because of the words that you use. So if I said something like, her brat comes here every morning, you know I don't like that kid. On the flip side, if I said, her angel comes here every morning, you know that I really, really like that kid. If I said, her son comes here every morning, it's not loaded at all, one way or the other. It's just kind of neutral. But a loaded word is going to kind of load it up with what your opinion is. The next one is an idiom. And that one is a group of words with a special meaning all their own. It has to be something that many people have heard over and over again. It can't just be anything. It has to be a phrase that's continually said, and a lot of times it's cultural. So it's raining cats and dogs. We all know and have heard that. It means it's raining really hard. It's not literally that cats and dogs are falling from the sky. The ball's in your court. I'm waiting for you to make a move or to talk. Go break a leg. Go do a good job on a performance. Those are all examples of idioms, words and phrases that people have heard again and again. The next one is an analogy. This is a comparison of a relationship. So if I said something like, a frame is to picture as vase is to flower. So a picture goes in a frame, a flower will go in a vase. You're comparing the relationship between the pairs of words. Number 11 is irony. And this is a contrast between what is expected to happen and what actually happens. Some real-life examples: a police officer getting stopped for speeding. That's ironic because you would expect a police officer to follow the rules of the road, or a fireman being afraid of fire. You expect them to be brave. A teacher that were to fail a test, that's all the unexpected. Number 12 is an oxymoron. This is a technique when you put two words that have opposite meanings and they're put together for effect. Jumbo shrimp or a sweet tart are examples of that. And number 13 is an allusion. Not illusion, allusion. A-L-L-U-S-I-O-N. This is an expression designed to call something to mind without mentioning it explicitly, an indirect or passing reference. So if I said to you, I'm surprised his nose didn't grow 3 sizes after telling me that story, I am alluding to the story of Pinocchio, where we all know when somebody lies, or when he lied, his nose grew. So I am alluding to the fact that he was lying without actually having to say it, because we all know the story of Pinocchio. All right, so that's it. Again, I invite you to come to the classes if you want to hear more conversation about these terms. It might help you out. Thanks so much.